I've been lifting consistently for over 5 years now. And in this video, I'm breaking down exactly how I built my physique. What worked, what didn't, what mistakes I made, and the lessons I learned throughout the years. So that you can possibly avoid the mistakes that I made and progress faster. If you're new to the channel, my name is Antonio, and I used to be a personal trainer. And right now I'm in between being like a fitness influencer slash YouTuber slash coach, personal trainer, and realistically I'm just a regular guy who's passionate about fitness. And my main mission is to help people, maybe people like you, build a better physique by simplifying fitness. Because at the end of the day, in my eyes, fitness isn't rocket science and the basics work for a very good reason. With this being said, let's jump straight into the blueprint. Honestly, in fitness, there are 3 main pillars that I always mention in my videos: training, diet, and recovery. Let's get recovery out of the way instantly. It's very simple. All you have to do for your recovery is simply sleep 8 hours per night, if you can. And if you can't, it is what it is. Don't overstress about it. Most of the times, people who overstress about not sleeping enough will get worse results than those who don't sleep enough but don't stress about it. Sometimes your life is just chaos. Some people just have jobs with changing shifts, and that's obviously gonna affect your sleep. Life isn't perfect, and you're not a fitness influencer like me. So if fitness isn't your main priority, and if it's not your bread gainer, if it's not something that pays the bills, you shouldn't be stressing that much about it. Anyways, recovery. Sleep enough. That's it. Plain and simple. Now, let's go over training first. When it comes to training, there's a lot of parameters: volume, intensity, frequency, progressive overload, consistency, etc. I'll break these down one by one, starting with volume. I aim for around 10 to 14 sets per week per muscle group. There seems to be a lot of confusion nowadays, especially on social media, and especially with these kids that want to be bodybuilders, which, FYI, I never really wanted to be a bodybuilder. And if you want my advice on how to become one, I'm sorry, I'm not the person that's the most indicated for this topic. I just want to help people build a better physique without much effort. Anyways, what is better? Low volume, high volume? There is this discussion flying around everywhere. And in my eyes, it is all subjective, really. A person can very easily recover from 14 sets. Meanwhile, another can only recover around 10. It really depends on the person. Now, things to take into consideration here is how hard are you training? How frequently are you training as well? Because on the session, if you're doing more than 10 sets, let's say on Monday you do chest and triceps. If you're doing 15 sets of chest in one workout, chances are you're not training hard enough, meaning not pushing your sets close to failure. So if you're doing a lot of volume, typically it means you are training like a little bitch. So you will have to lower your volume, which is again why I came up with this 10 to 14 rep range. 10 to 14 set range per week per muscle group. And this supports my frequency approach. I always hit my upper body twice per week. Meanwhile, my legs have taken a hit over the past couple of years by averaging around 1.5. Reason being, I do what we call nowadays on the internet like hybrid training. So my volume for legs tend to be slightly lower so that I can possibly recover and go out for my runs and bike rides, which I only bought a bike like 2 months ago, and my running has been quite terrible and I've been getting injured over and over again. So yeah, I'm just skipping legs because I'm lazy, pretty much. So when it comes to frequency, again, twice per week per muscle group, and that's more than enough, especially for the upper body. At the end of the day, if you want to build a good physique, being a man, you have to focus on your upper, and that's it. You can always wear pants. That's my excuse. Joking, don't neglect your legs, but you get the point. With this frequency, you can already calculate how many sets I do per workout, per muscle group. It tends to be between 5 and 7. Again, sometimes I might go for 8 or 9, but that is a very specific week where I know, for example, I'll go on holidays or vacation the next one, and I'll train way less. So it will be like a deload week. Speaking of deloads, don't do them. Most of you watching aren't professional bodybuilders or professional athletes. And if you're just a regular gym goer, chances are you don't really need a deload. What you need is 1 or 2 days of extra rest. And that will be more than enough. Not cutting progress for an entire week. And especially, let's be honest, doing deloads is boring. It is. So might as well just rest 1 or 2 extra days per week and not do them. When it comes to workout splits, for the past couple of years, I've run an upper lower split. If I could only work out 3 times per week, I would do upper, lower, upper. But if I could do 4 workouts per week, I would do upper, lower, upper, lower. Currently, I'm doing cardio 5 to 6 days a week. Previously, I was doing between 3 and 4 runs. I would try to run 30 to 40 kilometers. Probably only 30 because I'm a bit lazy and I get injured if I run too much. I don't know, a little pussy body, I guess. So that was my training split. I also tried a full body split and a push-pull upper-lower, but it just wasn't as fun as the upper-lower, to be honest with you. When it comes to exercise selection, I tend to be very basic with this one. I focus on the compound movements that we know for a fact that work. Like, for example, for chest, it will be bench press or incline bench press with dumbbells. Sometimes a chest press or a fly, but it doesn't really get away from the bench press, really. That's the main focus for chest. When it comes to the back, weighted pull-ups or simply pull-ups, a bent over row, and I would even consider a deadlift for back building to target spinal erectors. People tend to neglect that muscle quite a lot. This can also include RDL as well, or Romanian deadlift. When it comes to When it comes to arms, for biceps, I just do simply bicep curls or preacher curls. And when it comes to triceps, I aim for skull crusher or a cable skull crusher, meaning with the elbow elevated or shoulder. Yeah, you get the point. When it comes to shoulders, typical lateral raise. Now I'm currently doing with machines, although I kind of neglected it for a while, but we'll get into the mistakes later on in this video. And these are pretty much the exercises that I do. I don't really try these new trends of putting the cuff on the wrist, on your arm, doing a double back flip and then a row. I don't do any of those things. I think that simplifying things, training hard matters more than these complicated techniques. Which brings me to the next point, which is what truly matters with training. And what truly matters to me and to most of you watching and to everyone, let's be honest, to everyone, is consistency, effort, I was going to say training hard, and progressing. So we know for a fact the main pillar for you to build muscle is progressive overload. But progressive overload by itself doesn't mean much if you only progress for 3 or 4 weeks. So the goal is to progressively increase the weight on a week-to-week basis for years and years to come, meaning consistency. And for this to happen over years and years, there needs to be effort. You cannot increase the weight infinitely on a week-to-week basis, or else you would become Thor Bjorkson, like the strongest man on the planet or one of the strongest. You get the point. So you need to train with effort so that you can push the limits, because there will be plateaus, there will be barriers that you need to push through and train with effort. So again, with training, the only things that really matter, consistency, effort, and progressing. Fancy techniques, sure, they can give you 5% more muscle. But realistically, if you're watching this video, and again, you don't want to be a professional bodybuilder, and you just want to look good without a t-shirt or even with a t-shirt, chances are these 5% changes won't matter that much. And it's just something that you will overthink. You'll add on to your program and you will just make your progression actually slower because you have to overthink so many things. I always tell people who I coach or people on these videos, if you want to progress faster, it's not always about adding things in your programs. Sometimes it is much better to remove things from the program that are slowing you down. And that's what you have to think. Be as efficient as possible with your time. So in this case, being efficient for growing your chest, we know for a fact doing bench press works. Over time, you'll build a good chest if you progressively overload the bench press. Why would we go into these types of techniques of putting a cuff on the arm slightly here or there just to possibly get 5% more change when we are not entirely certain that it works? We know in theory it should work, but anecdotally, will it? I don't know. But from a lot of anecdotal experiences from everyone in the lifting journey, in the fitness industry, a lot of people with big bench presses also tend to have big chests. So there goes that. Now, what are the biggest mistakes I made with training? And this is a big one. And if you want a better physique, I think you need to listen to these ones. So remember I said that I was consistently training for over 5 years now. Well, I started around 7 or 8 years ago, but my first 2 or 3 years of my lifting journey were not consistent at all. And this is the first big mistake I made and that you need to avoid. For the first 2 or 3 years of my lifting journey, I was only lifting weights for around 2 months, and then I would quit for another 2 or 3, making my journey super inconsistent and never really getting the groove of things. And I basically wasted 2 or 3 years of training. That's why I don't tell people that I've been working out for 8, because the first 3 years were a waste of time, if I'm being honest with you. If you want to save time, don't do this. Simply work out at least twice per week. I would have been better off, instead of doing 6 workouts per week for 2 months and then stopping, I would have been better off doing 2 workouts per week consistently for these 3 years. I would have made so much progress and I would look way better right now. So if you can, and if you're uncertain whether or not you can maintain a high frequency routine, you're better off doing a lower frequency one and being consistent. Okay, that's the main goal. Consistency over time. It doesn't matter if you only do this for a year. It won't do anything for you. Now, the next big mistake that I made that could have possibly built a better physique is neglecting isolation work. You see, for around, I don't know how many years, I neglected my arms a lot. I always put them at the end of my workouts and doing upper splits. After the workout of upper, you don't want to do arms. You will be completely wrecked. And I don't know if you can tell, but they are suffering a bit. From this angle, maybe not, but in some videos, you'll definitely notice that my arms are a bit small. So again, if you want to build a good physique, especially as men, we need to focus on shoulders and arms as well. And I neglected this for years. And only recently have I decided to put a bit more focus on them. So we'll see in the next couple of years how they grow. So if you want to grow a specific body part, you need to focus it directly. Don't fall into this trap of thinking that just by doing compound exercises, your arms will grow. They will, just not to their full capability or full potential. Another problem that I faced is that I got a demanding job. So if you want my advice, don't get a job. Just kidding. Damn, so raw and no emotion on the joke. Anyways, look, you will have to make sacrifices. And trying to keep the same routine when you have a job that is extremely demanding hour-wise and routine-wise is just not sustainable. And so you will have to change approach when it comes to training. If you have a work that you keep changing shifts and you lack sleep, etc., you won't be able to maintain a routine of working out 6 times per week, twice per day. It is just impossible. So you need to learn how to listen to your body, when to rest and when to push hard. This isn't to say that you have to stop working out, not at all. Again, I'm also not saying that you won't be able to progress. You will just possibly have to be a bit smarter with your approach to training. Sometimes you might be better off cutting some training sessions, but pushing harder on the ones that you have. Again, trial and error when it comes to this one. And the final mistake that I made, my God, I never did cardio. Never. Because I always heard on social media that cardio would kill your gains. And I started doing cardio a year ago, a year and a half. And to be honest with you, I think I look better than ever. And if I'm being honest, my recovery has improved. I don't die during squats. So if you can take anything from this, is start doing cardio, please. At the end of the day, if you want longevity, if you want to look good but feel good as well, I think feeling good is better than looking good. If you want to live a healthy life until you're like 60 or 70 and a quality of life, you need to do cardio. At the end of the day, your heart is the most important muscle and you need to take care of it. And this is the only way to take care of it. There's no way around it. Please do your cardio. I'll be worse than your mom. Actually, I'll give you the story of my life. This video will turn a bit dark, just for 2 minutes. My father passed away when I was 16 because of heart problems. And that's one of the reasons why I train and why I teach people or I coach people, so that possibly it doesn't happen to them what happened to my dad, and possibly your children don't have to deal with the things that I did. Health, at the end of the day, is more important than anything else, than looking good, etc. Okay, so from me, an advocate of doing cardio right now. Please do your fucking cardio. I don't want people to deal with the shit that I did. Thanks. Anyways, let's go into diet. So when it comes to diet, I do what we call intuitive eating. What does this mean? Very simply, I eat whenever I want. Now, does this mean I eat whatever I want? No, it's whenever I want. So whenever I'm hungry, I'll eat. But this doesn't mean that I'll eat chocolate cakes and McDonald's, etc. No, I still eat healthy meals. I just have some staple meals that I already know how many macros are in them, so that it makes it as easy as possible to follow up nutrition plan, which is a very big mistake. A lot of people say they're going to go on a diet, which I actually mentioned before. We're going to call this a diet. This shouldn't be a diet. It should be the way you eat. If you call this a diet, or if you say that you're going to go on a diet, chances are you are going to fail. When a person takes this approach of calling it a diet, it means that it's only going to be for a certain period of time and not a lifestyle change. And by doing so, it already sets you up for failure. What you need to focus on is implementing foods that you enjoy in your so-called diet or nutrition. You cannot remove foods that you enjoy from your diet or from the foods you eat. Because if you do remove it, you'll have the necessity to binge eat. I'm telling you, it happens all the time. So if you can, don't remove any foods that you enjoy. Remove quantity. One thing that I always say, and my takeaway with diet or nutrition, is like, I treat food like poison. What I mean by this is that everything can be poison in the correct amount, even water. So your food can be poison in the correct amount. So if you want to eat pizza, you can. It just depends on the amount that you're gonna eat. Now, if you're on a bulk, eat the entire pizza. But if you're on a cut, maybe just have one slice. I know it's extremely hard to control yourself, but by only having one slice every day, for example, it is much better than eating 2 entire pizzas on a weekend, right? Anyways, diverging. So the way that I do my diet or my nutrition is I have my staple meals and I try to hit between 0.8 grams to 1 gram of protein per day. I don't track my macros anymore. I used to, and this is what I want to teach you guys, that learning what you eat is way more important than anything else. And once you learn how to track macros, you won't really need to track it ever again, because you kind of have the rough idea of what is in your plates. So if you can, give yourself 2 or 3 months to learn how much you're eating and what you're eating. This will change everything. After those 2 or 3 months, you'll be able to do some staple meals as well and make your diet or your nutrition much easier. And a lot of you don't want to be bodybuilders. You don't need to always be in a bulk or a cut. You can just maintain your weight. Do like a body recomposition. Unless you're over, 18-20% body fat, then you should probably do a slight cut. But if you're in the healthy marker of body fat levels, you could just stick with a maintaining phase. That's it. No need to rush to build a bit more muscle. Again, it's like the 5% increment. Could you possibly build more muscle by bulking? Maybe, but is it worth it to maybe sacrifice a bit of your health all in the sake to build 5% more? Again, if you're a bodybuilder, totally it is. But if you're just a regular person who wants to look better, feel better, bulking isn't the answer. I'm telling you, when you bulk up, you won't feel good. So there goes that with my nutrition help. Now, my main mistakes were that at the start, I was super obsessed with what I was eating. And I wouldn't go out much because I just thought that's the way to get results. But nowadays, I give myself a bit of a pass when it comes to food. I aim for like good meals 90% of the times. And the other 10, I enjoy my life. At the end of the day, this is what you should do. Enjoy your life anyways. And this is one of the main lessons that I want you to take away from this video, is that fitness is here to improve your life, not to take over it. And if it makes you miserable to build a better physique, then it's not worth it. At the end of the day, that's not your dream physique. Your dream physique is a physique that you can maintain forever with no effort. If it requires a lot of effort, you won't be able to maintain it for a long period of time. You get the point? So focus on building habits that make it as easy as possible for you to progress, to build a good physique, and to make it consistent. Because again, the basics work best. Just train hard, eat well, recover, and do this for years, and you'll build your physique. Not by following my blueprint, not by following anyone else, but simply by doing the basics for a long period of time. And that's what you want to take away from this video. Even though I gave you my blueprint, this is what worked for me. It doesn't necessarily mean it will work for you. You have to evaluate, see how your life is going. Your life is totally different than mine. And I don't think many people in the fitness industry tell you this. So keep that in mind. And with this being said, actually, I think I'll plug myself, which I never do. As I said, I'm kind of a coach slash influencer slash personal trainer. There's a link in the bio for my coaching application, which there is no application because I'm going to be honest, I don't have that many clients. But I know for a fact I can help you. So if you're interested in getting help, I'm offering 2 weeks entirely for free. So if you're interested, just head down to my description, click the link, sign up, and I'll help you and guide you through your journey. As I see that there's a lot of people out there who need help and they don't even know it. So you know what to do. And with this being said, I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And 99% of you watching aren't subscribed. So if you could do me a favor and help me out, then just hit the subscribe button. And to finish off, check out one of these 2 videos because YouTube thinks that you'll enjoy them. And maybe you do.